it. So I did that. And then I stretched up my neck really far, as I could, and I just made 5 foot. So I got in. so I went in, and this was exactly the picture I saw when I went there. It was my first airplane flight out of Denver, Colorado, down to San Antonio. Went to Lackland Air Force Base, and that's what you see when you drive in there. And you can see me here at the reception center. This wasn't actually the day that I got there. This was actually a few days in when my parents were visiting, and we went to the reception center. I did at one point during basic training, about a week and a half in, I got my phone call home, and as soon as I heard my dad's voice, I started crying. I said, "Come and get me. I want to go home. This is too hard. They're making me peel potatoes and march around." And he's like, no, you stay there. It'll be fine. And it ended up being fine. I made it through. You can see over here on the right side, I've got an arrow pointing to me, and you see I'm the shortest person in the entire flight out of all of these ladies. And this lady here, she's second from the left. She was over 6 foot tall. She was the tallest person in our flight. My job, though, was as the guide, and I had to carry the flag when we marched, and she was directly behind me. So here I am with this heavy, big flag, American flag, while we marched, and I had to keep up a good clip because those long legs would just step right over me. But that was basic training. I made it through, I graduated, and then I went to tech school. Tech school was in Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, at Keesler Air Force Base. And I went to school for ground radio communications specialist. So I have always been kind of techie. That was old tech in those days. And, you know, with the tubes and the radios and stuff, I actually learned how to fix those things. And if you can see down in the lower right-hand corner, those are a set of barracks. Those are similar to the ones that I stayed in. And, you know, Keesler was fun. That was the time of disco. And so on our time off, we went to the discotheque and drank a lot of beer and danced a lot of disco songs and made some good friends and learned a lot about electronics. I couldn't tell you anything about it now because I haven't used it in a long time, but that was my tech school. It was the first time I ever tasted Chinese food. So I had a lot of new life experiences there, made a lot of friends, and had a really good time. So I don't know, people complained about having to study so much, but to me it was a good time. I got to learn things, and I like that. After tech school in Mississippi, I was then stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland. That's the NSA, National Security Agency. That's pretty famous these days from that guy Snowden and how he stole secrets and put them out there for all the world to see and everything. But that was well after my time. At Fort Meade, Maryland, I was introduced to shift work, and I just would fix the radios and things at night if I needed to. And then sleep all day. I was the only female ground radio specialist on my work team, but I got along really well with all the guys. We had a great time and we helped each other out. I learned a lot from them too. I really enjoyed being stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland, because that gave me a chance to explore Maryland and kind of up the coast there. I went to Maine, I went to New York, not New York City, but Albany, just exploring. So I got to learn a lot about the East Coast. I'd never been there that I could remember. When I was little, my parents passed through there because my dad was in the Army, and, you know, we came to port there on the East Coast sometimes. But it was funny going back again. When I first went to basic training, the folks I met had really never met anybody from the Wild West out in Colorado. And the first thing they asked me said, "Oh, how many horses do you have? How long does it take you to travel from here to there on horse?" I'm like, "I don't have a horse." I had to explain to them that, you know, Colorado was not the Wild West anymore. We actually drove cars and lived in buildings. So they were astounded by that, which I thought was pretty funny. They thought civilization only was on the eastern part of the United States. So, but anyway, for national security, I had a top secret security clearance, which was good. It helped me get some jobs after I left the Air Force. So that's always good to have that. It was a big, big complex. Now I think they've even built onto it. So there was a lot to do there. It's a very busy job, but I really enjoyed it. Then I got stationed in Okinawa, Japan. This was my most fun assignment. I really enjoyed going overseas. I was terrified at first because, you know, I went overseas to Germany with my parents when I was just 3 months old. And then we came back when I was about 2, so I don't remember any of it. So this was really my first time going to an overseas place. And after I got over my fright, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. The person who met me, my guide, he was a sergeant who was assigned to me and a few others. He was great. He showed us around. He explained things, made sure we didn't get into trouble much, and actually became a very good friend for the 18 months that I was stationed there. Arrived here at the passenger terminal, the little airport there. Got off, and the first thing I noticed was how hot and muggy it was. It was so hot. I was drenched the minute I walked outside of the air conditioning. Then I went to my barracks down here at the bottom. This is actually the building where I lived, and I've got written there with an arrow, my room. When I first got there, it was just a basic barracks room, and I got my stuff unpacked and everything. But the first thing they told us was that even though this was an island, it was surrounded by water, but there was a water shortage. So we could not, we had one latrine on every floor for the whole floor, and we were not allowed to flush toilets except every other day. With all these people in this building. It was horrible. The next thing I learned about was the mosquitoes. Being a tropical island, you don't go to sleep without hearing bzzz all night, and you're just slapping yourself all night long because of the mosquitoes. But other than that, it was pretty good. Next to that, the building picture is a picture of the inside of my room. You can see it's just a little basic room. Up in the upper right-hand corner, this is job control. That's where I worked. This is where I was first introduced to computers, and they were the little white things where it was a black screen, no images of any sort. The letters were all orange, and you could make pictures by typing a bunch of letters and making letter pictures, but that's all you could do. It was mostly just text. But I kind of loved computers from the get-go with that, and then that's why I kind of consider myself an expert in those today. But what we did at Job Control, and that's why I have a picture of this beautiful airplane, was we tracked we did a lot of things, but the most important thing we did was to track the airplanes that flew in and out of Okinawa. And this airplane down here is called the SR-71. At the time, it was the most state-of-the-art and premier spy plane for the United States. The locals called it the Habu because of its color, and they say it looked kind of like the most poisonous snake on the island. That was called a Habu. So this was so cool to watch take off in the daytime, but especially at night when you could see the afterburners and the big flames coming out of the back of it. And it was just really cool. So that's what I did, was I tracked the weather to try and keep the planes safe. And when we had monsoons and things, our job was to make sure that word got out that they needed to move the planes off of Okinawa to a safer place in time before the monsoons hit. Then this in the middle here is a picture of a Charlie's Tacos shop. And that was one of our favorite places to go after we had had a good time running around the island. And yes, probably quite a few beers. And one of the things that they first told me the first time we went there was that, yeah, the tacos are great, but there's something that you need to know about them. And I'm like, what? Well, they use dog meat. So we said, well, it is what it is, and I miss tacos, so guess what? I'll take two. So that was the first time I had dog tacos. I don't know if it's really true or if they were just, you know, messing with me, but anyway, that was, they were good. They were delicious, and we went there many times. So, oh, and also, this was, and Okinawa was the first time I ever experienced an earthquake. I was sitting in a movie theater watching, what was it called? I think it was a movie called The Piano or something like that. And there was a little kid with his parents sitting at the end of my row. And because it was not a children's movie, he decided he was going to go up and down the row, banging down the empty seats and flipping them back up again. So he was shaking the seats, and I turned around and I got up and I went to his parents. I said, please control your child. I'm trying to watch this movie. So he settled down for a minute, but then I felt the shaking again. And I went to get up and yell at these people again, but everybody was running out of the theater because it was an earthquake, a full-blown earthquake. So that was my first time experiencing one of those. And I did get to take a shopping trip to Seoul, Korea while I was stationed on Okinawa. I jumped onto a C-130 that was just hopping over there, and it was cool because they opened up the back, and me and my two friends who were going to Seoul to shop, we got to hang on and just look down on the earth from the open end of the C-130 plane. So that was fabulous. I will never forget that. Oops. Oh yeah, and then the end, because after Korea, or after Okinawa, they wanted me to go on a Navy ship to fix the radios. And I'm not a water person. I'm not a ship person. I cannot swim to save my life. I would drown. And, you know, I said, no, not going to do that. So I had been a sergeant, but in order to get out, so I would not be assigned to a Navy ship. And it was one of the big ones, a big Navy ship with the airplanes and everything. It was terrifying. I had to give up my sergeant status and return to senior airman, and then was honorably discharged in August, I think it was August 3rd, 1983. Flew home to San Francisco, very cold place, and then got on the plane to go home to my parents, where they lived in Pueblo West at the time. So that was my adventure in the United States Air Force. Okay. And that's all I got. So, Cece.
Thank you, Phyllis. That was very interesting. I was in the Air Force myself from 1971 to 75, and I was stationed in Turkey. And they just had a big earthquake a couple of weeks ago. And I went through 3 earthquakes when I was there. It's no fun.
I'm afraid I can't really understand you, Bob. You're all echoey again.
Really?
There you go. Stay there.
Is that better right there?
Yes.
I don't know what's causing it. I got a new laptop. So anyway, thank you, Phyllis.
Let me answer this question from Mary Ellen. I was actually 20 years old when I joined the Air Force. It took me a couple years. I tried college at Greeley for a semester. Just didn't work. I was too young and I just didn't really get into it. I was super shy and I hated all the partying and stuff. So it took me a couple years, and then that's when I decided I really need to do something. For as far as my career, oh, and thank you, Connie, for thanking me. It's taken me, well, after the Air Force, I just kind of, I worked for Lockheed Martin. I was a document controller for them for 5 or 6 years, I guess, and having the top secret clearance helped me get that job. And I've kind of veered away from that kind of thing. And of course, I became an elementary school teacher and librarian towards the end of my career before I retired. The earthquake, Kathy, I think it was probably in about 1981, I want to say, 1981. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. All right.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Phyllis. That was very interesting. I have Cece Newman make her presentation.
Okay, so.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, you're up.
I'm up. Okay. Good morning, FACC members. As you're aware, November 11th was Veterans Day. I would like to give a shout out to our fellow veterans. Thank you for your service. Earliest this year, I was asked to give a presentation of Latinas in the military. It would have been wonderful all in person. I miss the camaraderie. Due to this unwelcome COVID-19, we'll do it by Zoom. Appreciate expertise from Bob Craig, Tom Martinez with the Zoom, and Phyllis Miranda PowerPoint, my fellow veteran. This Zoom business is all new to me, so bear with me as I share with you my memories as a Navy wave. My time goes back 1962 to 1964. I graduated from Pueblo South High, class of 61. I was 17, looking for a job here in Pueblo. Job opportunities were not that great, and I could not afford to go to college, nor was not aware of any Hispanic minority scholarships at that time. I decided to go to the military with the goal of furthering my education and seeing the world. Went to see the local Army recruiter. It sounded remarkably interesting and a great opportunity. I had to go to Denver for testing, but did not do so well on the test. But as destiny played out, the Navy recruiter down the hall asked if I would take the Navy test. By that time, my nervousness calmed down. The recruiter gave me a penny for luck. I took the test and passed. Lucky penny or destiny? I would say both. Where do I start to bring back the memories? I needed to locate items from the past to tell you my story. Well, I had a storage bin where carefully stored was my winter uniform, Navy jacket, skirt, which of course does not fit now. Also, I had my wave hat that still fits and a black leather purse still in style. I'm missing my uniform dress whites, other clothing issued in boot camp, as well as the insignia, one red chevron, which signified petty officer, third class communications technician. I was unable to find my certificate of honorable discharge and various pictures. Thankfully, I had my honorable discharge, my DD-214, in a secure file. I located a small orange plastic case that had been stored and not opened for many years. Dusted it off, made myself comfortable before opening. Inside was a trove of cards, letters, pictures of friends, places I visited. So many poignant memories and mementos from boot camp, yeoman school, and last duty station. Looking through all these items, it brought back many memories of special times. As I reminisced of those bygone years, I was overwhelmed with such bittersweet memories. Although I was not able to locate the other box that contained more pictures and memories, I have the memories. Now to share with you my time and experiences as a Navy wave. Navy boot camp was Bainbridge, Maryland. Again, first time to fly like Phyllis, from Denver, Colorado to Baltimore, Maryland. From there, we headed to the bus station. And again, when I got off the plane, it was humid and hot. And I go, did it just rain? Anyway, on to the bus station and then on to Bainbridge, Maryland, where several of us new recruits were to be picked up and taken to the base. Several sailors were on their way back to base and offered to give us a ride. When we arrived, got into trouble, as we were to have waited for someone from the base that would be picking us up and taking us in. But what did I know and what did we know? We were just recruits. Lesson learned, follow instructions. I was assigned to Company 28 and boot camp training began. Barracks seemed old even by that time, but we were all excited for this new experience. Getting uniforms, shots, physicals, assigned to the barrack bunks and learning how to make your bed taut, when to salute, marching, how to fold your towels, underwear, which I still to this day fold it that way. Boot camp for me was not difficult. I liked the structure, discipline, and organization. I did not have a hard time adapting to military life or the structure. Of course, missed family and friends back home. The girls at boot camp were from all over the country. We all had to have our hair above our uniform collar. A girl from Hawaii had beautiful long black hair, and she was exempt from cutting her long hair, but of course she wore it in a bun. I was lucky that a fellow Puebloan, Carolyn Pagels, was also stationed with me, and we became really good friends. The only time I thought on basic was when I had to jump off the high diving board, swim to the end of the pool and back. My mind said jump, but my body would not move. I had to pass that in order to complete basic. I did not want to fail. So guess what? I jumped and I passed, and I've not been on a diving board since. During basic, when I did not think I would make it, my mother sent me this poem, Don't Quit. And I'd like to read it to you because this throughout my lifetime has been an inspiration, and it's called Don't Quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. Well, this gave me the confidence and in myself to do the training in basic, and soon it was graduation time. I was selected to be part of the graduation review ceremonies. I was chosen to be the left guard in the formation for the recruit color guard. Further training was to attend yeoman school, still in basic Bainbridge, Maryland. Completed training and And if I needed confidence, I would find the poem my mom sent to me during basic. Graduated from Class A Yeoman School, and now was a Seaman Communications Technician, CT. The emblem on that communication at that time was a quill and like a little bolt of lightning. My orders were for the Naval Security Station in Washington, D.C. My barracks were in Arlington, Virginia, Ranger Hall, Quarters K, which I heard is now a freeway. The base had, of course, a chapel, PX, chow hall, enlisted club to socialize, dance, and raise a glass or two. When we were bused to our jobs, Monday through Friday, I worked in the front office with my friend Mary Roscoe. She was from Delia, New Mexico, and was bilingual. We hit it off, and still to this day, we keep in touch. We were responsible for all the clerical duties in the front office. The area that we were involved in was the shipping of classified material and manuals to various stations and ships at sea. To get into the station, one had to have a security clearance. Soon after, FBI checked my background and I was issued a top secret clearance. During boot camp, yeoman school, or when I was working at the Naval Security Station, the men that worked in the back of the security station that were doing the shipping, they were all very respectable. So when Mary and I had to go to the back, no salty talk. Even though I didn't have boots on the ground, I had high heels in the office. One special memory was the day President Kennedy was assassinated, November 22nd, 1963. Mary and I were on our way back from lunch. Church bells were ringing. When we got back to the office, we learned that he had been shot. A dark pall was over everyone. We were all glued to the barracks and the TV in the barracks. Arlington Cemetery was in walking distance from the barracks, so I was able to witness the funeral. I remember from a vantage point, there was one tall figure that stood out, General de Gaulle. On sexual abuse, harassment, or ethnicity, I never experienced or was put in that situation. When I served, this was a different time for females than those that may have served later in the military. I was not aware of any other woman in service during my time that expressed that this had happened. I may have been naive, or if it did, they did not want to talk about it. Stationed in Washington, D.C. and the surrounding areas have many places to visit and sightsee. Following are some of the most memorable. During the Civil Rights Movement in 1963 at the Lincoln Memorial, Martin Luther King was set to give his I Have a Dream. We were told not to attend, fearing that the large crowd would not be safe for us. I previously mentioned the funeral for President Kennedy at Arlington Cemetery. I did go later on and witness the changing of the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier. At the Washington Monument, I walked all the way up to the top of the monument. My knees were shaking. Needless to say, I took the elevator down. I went to the Jefferson Memorial. They had like a little lake in front, and I remember there was a little paddle boats. Also, when the cherry blossoms were in bloom, it was just a sight to see, beautiful. Drove by the White House, went to the Smithsonian Museum, which was awesome, and one needs more than one day to visit. Went to the Pentagon, which is a city within a city. Also went to different restaurants, shops in and around DC. Bethesda, Maryland, and Arlington, Virginia was fun. And the only ship I was on was the French destroyer, the Du Petit-Trois, that came to DC. It was in November of '63. They were docked at the Naval Weapons Plant, and a A couple of friends went down, and it was interesting meeting the French sailors, especially Frank. Vive la France. I enjoyed the times when we would go with friends we drove to New York City, or getting together to dance at the enlisted club on base. There I met one Puebloan. I looked across, I says, that looks like Judy. Judy looked at me, Judy Garcia Carter, would you believe? Small world. One experience I will share was a party I went to, again with some friends, just over in DC, across from the Washington Bridge in DC. I didn't feel comfortable with the people at that party. It was late at night, unable to get a ride back to the barrack. So I left, crossed the Washington Bridge, made it back to the barracks, safe and sound. Now in hindsight, I think, boy, I wouldn't do it now. The fellow sailors I dated were all nice, and the one I should have married. Instead, I met a Navy corpsman stationed at the Naval Hospital Base in DC. This relationship intervened and cut short my Navy career. However, destiny had other plans. Even though the marriage did not last, I was blessed with my son and daughter. My daughter made my life richer with my two beautiful grandchildren. I am incredibly grateful for my time in the Navy. It has been an asset in so many ways. I had a civil service career, 29 years with Social Security Administration, now enjoying retirement, family, and a wonderful husband. I'm looking forward to learn more about my ancestors and genealogy. I need to thank Carolyn Cordova for all her help and friendship. Life has had many challenges on my life's journey. I am proud to have served my country as an honorably discharged veteran. Now, I currently serve as an assistant adjutant with the American Legion Post 2 here in Pueblo. This is a way to serve and give back to my fellow veterans. God bless, be safe, and smooth sailing.
Okay, Cece, I'm just going to go through the pictures if you want to talk about them.
Okay.
So here's the first two.
Okay, that's me on the left, and that's my buddy Mary Roscoe from Delia, New Mexico. She's now in Tennessee. And then, of course, there's me. I was 17 when I went in, and then turned 18.
Wow.
And there is the outside barracks. That's our winter dress uniforms. And to the right is Carolyn Pagels, and she's now an Alguin, and I believe she's still here in Pueblo. And again, as I stated, the French warship that was here. And again, that's the first time I'd ever had been on a ship, and it had to be a French ship, but it was interesting, and I had, it was nice. I enjoyed it. And of course, there's my Navy jacket and my dog tags and my hat, which I wore proudly. And there's the French sailor. There's Frank. He went by Frank. And we corresponded for a while. And again, a lot of different people, wonderful people, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And this was my graduation review. And in there, of course, it listed that I was on the left guard on the review during graduation.
Okay, that's your pictures.
Thank you very much, Cece. We've all always been in the service.
Can't understand you, Bob.
Why? What is it with my voice? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, CC, for that. And to all the veterans out there in our group, thank you for your service. This concludes our presentation for the day. We are recording this. I just need to get permission from CC and Phyllis to send it out. We'll do that later. We have some questions here or comments. Let me get to the chat box. Okay, this is from Patricia. She said, thank you for your service. Let's see here. Really well done, CC. That was from Mary Ellen. Great presentation. Thanks. From Jeanette. Let's see here. Where are we at here? To both CC and Phyllis, did you receive any firearms training? That's from Ed Fushauer.
I can remember having to put and don a gas mask. And of course, we had a rifle when we were marching, but I don't recall having to shoot it.
No, and we didn't either. We were supposed to do dry fire, which means no ammunition, but we didn't even do that. I don't remember what the reason was now, but no firearms training, which I'm okay with.
Me too.
Okay, great presentations. This is from Carolyn, from George Sanchez. It was nice hearing from two women veterans. Thank you, Phyllis, and well, it should be CC for your service. From Ed, thank you for your service. And I think that's it. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, Bob, you missed mine.
Oh,
My question was to Cece. Was the French sailor the guy you should have married?
No. Who I should have married was another Navy sailor. He was, well, that's a personal memory. Yeah.
Thank you, Cece.
You're welcome.
well, questions. I want to again thank Phyllis and CC for their presentation. It's very interesting. Thank you for your service again, and thank everybody here that attended the meeting or the presentation. We will have a presentation in December. It will be, I don't know if George is online or not, but
Yeah, can you hear me?
yeah, go ahead, George.
It's Dr. Irene Blair. She put out
Yes.
several books. She's well-known writer out of New Mexico, originally from Pueblo. And if you Google her name, Dr. Irene Blair, you'll see, I think she has about like 15 books out there talking about the Hispanic history, our people and the contributions we've made. She was chairman of Chicano Studies Department at UCLA for a little while, also at Metro in Denver. So I'm really excited to have her as a guest speaker. And I'll be working with you, Bob, to make sure we get her all hooked up for the meeting next month. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, Irene did present at FACC when we had in-person presentations about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe it was. So we welcome her back to make a presentation.